What's going on, everyone? My name is Nicholas Merton here at Data Dash, and today is November 22nd of 2019. Well, folks, I hope you all are having a fantastic day wherever you are. Well, to be fair, I bet many people aren't really having a crazy good day. The market is obviously down right now. Bitcoin's down about 7%, breaking to new lows on this relative correction since all the way back here in the rally up to June. And to be quite frank, guys, I know it's probably not that exciting to see. In fact, it might have a lot of people worried, and I want to go ahead and spend some time to actually, go through talking about what's led to this continued correction, at least from what we can tell, and outside of that as well, going through a few different perspectives from different individuals in the space, and also tossing in my 2 cents in the process. That's all we can do here, guys. And again, at the end of the day, it's not financial advice, but you can see here as well, I'm not stressing. I'm definitely more exposed to cryptocurrencies than any other asset class. So I hopefully that tells you something in that case, right? I'm not too worried about this. It's common with crypto, and you're going to hear that theme throughout the video. But let's go ahead and let's try to take a non-biased view and really understand what's going on here. So if we take a look here on the hourly chart, we can see the acceleration here looks pretty stark. If you take a look on the hourly chart, it's always going to do that. And you can start to see that the volume has picked up here. But on the daily time frame, you can see we've been building up into the sell side momentum, real capitulation in the market in the sense of price action, moving a few $1,000s in a matter of really just about a week or two, right? And fading out not only the gains here from what we got, the 42% movement off of the China blockchain news, but outside of that as well, breaking past the previous lows to new lows down here. Now it does look like, if we take a look at the shorter time frames, that we might be getting some buy side momentum. The volume really hasn't come in yet, so I'd actually say it looks a little bit worrisome in that case that we're not getting buyers coming in at these levels. But we'll have to see. Time will tell. So what's the news here, right? Well, the news itself, if you just take a look at the headline, would be extremely concerning. And that is that Shenzhen, in this case, has identified, one of the major tech capitals of China, has identified over 39 cryptocurrency exchanges defying the trading ban that China had established back about 2 years ago in 2017. And to many people, this would be absolutely deafening in this case. It would be scary. And the reason why I think most people would feel that way is they think, well, wait a minute. Has all the movement in Bitcoin over the last year derived from these 39 exchanges? How much volume are they processing? How much of a role do they play? And that's the thing about it, when there is any kind of exchange in China, and there have been, I'll get into that in a second, a lot of people think, China is the end all for crypto. And it is. It plays a large role. Chinese citizens do, right? But that's the misconception. So let's go ahead and dive a little bit into that. So 39 crypto exchanges in China, defying trading ban, right? Who are these exchanges? How much volume are they processing? We don't have any of this information, but I can tell you guys something, at least from my perspective. I'll toss in my 2 cents. The vast majority of these Chinese exchanges are not really exchanges. They are platforms founded by individuals with no names, no track record, that have a fancy logo and a spin up of the old Binance website design. And there's not really actually much trading going on in these platforms. In fact, they may not even have real orders being fulfilled on the exchange. Their business models entail 2 real things: getting you to deposit your money on their custodial solution, aka their wallets, and along with that, the other solution in this case, or the way that they make money, is by charging listing fees. So these are a lot of the exchanges we've talked about on the channel. I don't even need to bring it up here on CoinMarketCap. You guys have seen the absorbent amount of fake volume in the crypto space derived from no-name exchanges that popped up overnight and somehow are processing more volume than Binance. These are those exchanges. These are the ones that in this case are basketed in to the 39 plus exchanges or more that China still has yet to find that are doing this kind of scammy activity of reporting fake volume, basically wash trading, which is illegal, and also having these ridiculous amounts of IEOs and token listings. If it's getting rid of these guys, this is great news because we're going to have much easier times getting price discovery in crypto. Now, to be fair, I don't think we have a difficult time doing that because anyone with, anyone worth their, I'm trying to think of an analogy. There we go, Nick trying to think of an analogy. Anyone who actually has a lick of common sense. There we go. Anyone with a lick of common sense knows that the rates on these exchanges or the price discovery in these exchanges is false. If you're trying to propose that you have more volume than Binance or Coinbase or some of the major leading Western exchanges, you're just, you're lying, right? Especially in a country where it's banned. Most of the actual volume out of China comes in OTC, or it's left the country and has gone to a variety of safe havens like Japan or South Korea, where they can actually trade these assets. It's that simple. Do you guys remember back in 2017, the anonymous accounts that you could have in South Korea? Where do you think a lot of that Chinese money went? Yep, it went to South Korea. And that's at least what we can tell from 2017. Most of the capital that could have exited outside of OTC markets has left out of China. And now, if there is any kind of underground operations, it's not going to be as prevalent as some of these Chinese exchange websites that aren't really actually doing anything in the crypto space. This is the actual report here. Sadly, Brave Browser does not have language adjustment in this case to English. But I know some of these words. Well, I would have if I would have continued studying Mandarin. Anyways, long story short, or actually technically Chinese in the sense of the actual written language, but I was going to learn Mandarin. Long story short, the news itself is completely speculative. We don't know in this case if the central bank of China has taken down any serious exchanges that process any serious volume on Bitcoin. And not to mention as well, this could just be reactionary. But the market overall, nonetheless, doesn't matter if the news is fundamental or not, has put a serious weight down on price if you take a look across the board, guys. About double-digit downside movement for about half the market here. A lot in various altcoins and stuff. And also about 78% in Bitcoin, right? So let's go ahead and take some perspectives in. And I'll go ahead and toss my 2 cents at the end of it all, which will probably encompass a lot of what these individuals say. So first person I got to toss up, my good friend in the Netherlands, Quentin, who's also known as Young and Investing. Definitely got to catch up with Quentin when I get the chance to make it out to the Netherlands. But he put out a really good chart here. I think it provides some good perspective, especially towards facing against the emotions that can come with capitulation. And that's really putting into perspective where we are within the trend. And I like how Quentin here basically has a nice downtrend line here that's estimating the last 3 lows lining up here with a potential 4th low here for Bitcoin, where we might actually start to get some upward movement, and really showcasing that in some ways this is almost a kind of an ugly looking descending wedge, right? Which is actually a bullish pattern, right? You got the descending lows here at a more rapid rate than, descending highs at a faster rate than the descending lows, which is actually quite interesting. One thing I noticed well when I just take a look at the chart is the volume's not that crazy comparative to some of the downside moves. We haven't even gotten above this line here where we saw a lot of sell-off days back in the past here. So nothing too crazy, right? Seems like we're in a relatively low volume market. But again, I like Quinn's perspective on that, keeping an idea that we might be lining up for one of the last lows. Bob Lucas, another great individual in the space who's like me, he's focusing on the broader cycles. Bitcoin, the only asset class that can triple in price and lose 50% of its value in the same year. And you think you're going to trade that easily. Trade when you have a real edge only, or sit on the sidelines and watch. I'm going to really hit on this point, guys. Really hit on this point. And it'll, again, all these kind of come into play later on in the video. Now, another thing as well, Sunny Decree, I'm putting more of actually a bearish view on the market here. And this is something that I saw a lot of the people I admire in like more active trading in crypto pointing out here, which was the head and shoulders that was building. It was becoming pretty obvious here. I was really worried a while ago watching this head and shoulders here, even though a lot of people say like, well, the high over here is a little bit more. Head and shoulders very commonly will have varying highs on the shoulders. But so long as you have very clear shoulders as well as a head, in that case, you're likely going to get a downward trend here. And that's what we got here now. When he printed this chart, the price was a little bit lower. We've rebounded a little bit. But again, just keeping in mind that's more of a bearish perspective. I think it's important. Now, for a little bit of comedy, Rob Lacone down in New York City, and he is staging a protest outside the New York Stock Exchange until the institutions stop manipulating Bitcoin. Stand with Rob Lacone. We got to get him to stop manipulating the price, guys. I got to say, it's so funny because I hope Rob, I think Rob's joking about this. Like, I think, yes, there is some possible manipulation when it comes to futures trading and stuff. I mean, it's been prevalent in traditional markets, guys, but it's not the only thing that's, directing price. There are other factors here. And I talked about that in response to a comment a while ago, because if the CME willed it, right, or if any of these major, exchanges willed it, they could literally bring Bitcoin's price down to 0 if they could actually dictate the price, or bring it down to 1,000. Why did they stop at 3,100, right? There's some rational explanations that, they can only manipulate price relatively in the short term. General spot market will dictate price, right? And that is usually going to be, in that case, like you said, like many people talk about, whales or larger investors, right? Now, this is one of the last perspectives here from Moon Overlord. Go ahead and pull out the tweet here. He said, if you're willing to trade both ways, there's always opportunity in Bitcoin market. Missed the 40% move to the upside. A ton of people did. It happened insanely fast. There's another 20 to 30% sitting there on the way down. Now, I actually viewed his chart when I saw it first actually in a different way. I remember when I see charts like this that kind of give me a good sense of price action, a little bit of history. In my fading memory, no, I'm just kidding, but in my memory, I always kind of have an instant flashback to where was I when this was happening and what was it like? And that was when, back in October, I was going to Las Vegas for the Litecoin Summit and the World CryptoCon. And I remember just seeing the kind of vast movement in price to the upside. And I remember seeing people flip their emotions on a dime. That deserves a snap, I think, because it was instant, right? It was within 24 hours, Bitcoin moved up 42%. And the amount of bears that I saw flip into bulls and be eager to buy Bitcoin at a near $3,000 premium was pretty scary. And that is something that we can take away, I think. And this is I'll talk about this again as we go into the point of talking about Bob Lucas and a few of the other individuals we've taken a look at. Last one I'll take a look at is Plan B, one of the best data scientists out there for cryptocurrencies. And you can see here, we are still on par. We are in line with the normal stock to flow model that we've talked about on the channel, right? He's really pioneered in this stock to flow model as well. We can see here we're riding within the normal channels that we should be at this price, right? We haven't hit the halving yet. We're getting close to it. As we enter towards that halving, that's when we start to see a later stage playback for Bitcoin. At least that's what we saw in the last cycle, to above the general line on the stock to flow model in the higher band, right? So who knows? We'll see if it holds out this time. But let's go ahead and jump back in the chart, guys. From the points of Bob Lucas, as well as the points that we just talked about from Moon Overlord and his chart, that there's opportunity both to the upside and downside. I want to go ahead and just kind of stress my point of view here. This market is not for the faint of heart when it comes to trading. If you are going to actively trade in this market, you either need to have an edge of some sort, or you need to have a trading journal, and you need to start with small amounts, okay? Again, I can't give you guys direct financial advice. That's how I started trading now. You cannot put your entire life savings, you cannot trade on margin, you cannot follow your emotions trading these very extremely volatile markets. It's plain and simple. And I know there are some of you out there who trade, and it just pains me, it hurts me, because I care about you guys. I really do, right? Now, for those of you who may not be trading, and you might be holding this case, and you might be fearful in this case of where price is, let me ask you guys this. When it comes to Bitcoin, right, if you are worried about your Bitcoin holdings, it tells you either two things. One, you may be a little bit overexposed, right? And I'll say that as someone who's excessively overexposed to crypto out of any asset class, right? The question you have to ask yourself is your risk profile too high comparative to, what you're willing to sacrifice in this case for a potential reward, right? The reward might be great if you're all exposed in crypto, but, are you willing to accept that this could go to zero tomorrow? You should ask that with any investment. I've had to invest, for example, I didn't ask that many times when I invested in stocks before. For example, I mentioned on the channel before how my first two investments, one was in a nice, well-developed solar company in China, and one was in a medical marijuana penny stock. And I learned after that I have to accept that I could take a 30 to 50% loss. Luckily in that scenario, though, solar stock neutralized it. I digress. The major point here that I want to push to you guys is that you need to understand if the risk here is too much for you, you might have to readjust your portfolio. You might have to move some out to less volatile assets. That's a decision that you're going to have to make, and I can't determine that for you. I don't know what your age is, what your income bracket is. I don't know. Oops, I knocked over my keys. I don't know if you'll knock over your keys. I mean, the major thing I want to put across here is risk management, right? Big thing. And the second thing as well is, what is your time frame, right? If you're not trading this market, what's your goal here when it comes to cryptocurrencies as an investment? And I've already told you guys where I stand. It's where people like Plan B, it's where people like Bob Lucas, these kind of long-term investors are looking, right? And I'd actually say they're traders in a sense. Now, how can they be traders if they're not trading these swings? Well, they're traders in the sense that they are trading the longer-term cycles. And if you're like me, if you look at the data science models, if you take a look at the longer term movements and follow the consistencies of history, we're not that far off from where we're expected to be. All right, let's go ahead here. I want to pull it up here on Bitstamp so we can get today's price action as well. Take a look at this lower band here on the logarithmic chart. All right, so if we take where we are right now, right, what could be the worst here that we see if we're going to continue playing out with history, right? What can we accept in this case would be maybe the lowest range we could go to. I would say it's somewhere here between 6,000 to 6,500. Worst case scenario. We could have set the bottom today, who knows? But we're accepting the fact that we might come down and set a low on this. What would be some, rational, possibilities? Well, I think one of them would maybe be 3250. Pretty much a double of the previous low. Right here on the parabolic line. Just like what we did back here multiple times. We had multiple times where we made contact with the line of support here. I think that would be a very rational possibility. And we sort of did that here around near 400 where we set the low around here around 200. Could be a possibility, right? So keep on the idea that, again, during these periods where you've had these kind of very sharp corrections, right? We've seen these massive downturns where really, guys, we've had more than a 50% correction. And we may pull back even a little bit more. But accepting that in that case, is this the period of time where you want to just sell all your positions, where you want to give up any exposure to this asset class, when we were just talking about the potential for this asset to flip and go up towards 20, 50, 100K over the next 2 years? I don't know any asset class that has any possibility of performing like that. And that's why I'm willing to take the risk I have on cryptocurrencies. I'm willing to make the position I have on crypto because I'm confident in its technology, the fundamentals of the actual technology and the actual concept of cryptocurrencies. And along with that as well, I can take that risk to reward profile because to me, it's worth it. The exposure that I have in this space is absolutely worth it. I've accepted the risk that this could go to zero, but I don't think it is. Not me personally. So again, if we take a look at any of the mainstream models, guys, I think the stock to flow is a good one. But we just took a look at some of them. You guys can go to lookintobitcoin.com, and there's a lot of great models that'll show you we're pretty much on par for what we should be doing, right? We had something that really distorted Bitcoin's price for a lot of people, and that was an overtly exuberant exit out of a very short accumulation phase. We didn't have a year to a year and a half like we did last time. Because of that, a lot of us got greedy. A lot of us expected this thing to move quickly, and when we got back up to 14K, many people, including myself, were interested at the idea that, we might really reach 20K very soon after, right? So we have to learn from these moments, guys. I'm not perfect. I have no idea where the market's going to go next week. All I have in my mindset is to hope that we're going to continue in this continuous historic model of accelerated rallies for the stock to flow model for Bitcoin and other different data science models. I have to follow those models in that case because they usually end up being one of the best bets in this case, to follow what history tells you, right? And I don't know what's going on in China. I don't want to pretend to know what's going on in China, right? There's so much complexity to this world, and it goes not only for traditional markets, but it's relevant as well for crypto. So anyways, I'm rambling on at this point, guys. Again, just want to let you all know, you can see I'm not stressing. Having a nice cup of tea here, taking it easy, and I'm definitely looking in this case as well at this range for me personally at a 50% dip to possibly add in. I just don't think we get many opportunities like this in the crypto space. And again, for me personally, I'm in it for the much longer term swing, right? I'm playing this for the next cycle. I'm playing this for the next parabolic or exponential run up, plain and simple, right? And if Bitcoin breaks this line here, if it starts to really break below and move lower than the double of the previous low, then that's going to be a little bit concerning to me. I'll be absolutely fair. That would be a very big warning sign for cryptocurrencies, but who knows? Who knows what's going to happen? I would say that I think we're very much close to the end of this capitulation, and this is not a time to grow fearful, but rather grow greedy when there is blood on the streets. Right? Anyways, I'll put it that way, guys. That'll be it for the video. I appreciate you guys for sticking around. I actually apologize if the video came out a little bit late today. I would usually jump on this very quickly, but I was originally planning to put up an interview with Charlie Lee, which we'll have coming up tomorrow. So I hope you guys stay tuned for that. But again, if you guys have something to say on this, drop a comment. If you like the video, drop a like. I always appreciate it, guys. There's ways you guys can support the channel if you'd like down in the description. That being said, I hope you guys are having a wonderful day wherever you are. And until the next one, I'll see you all in the next video. Stay tuned.